Whether you're caring for a spouse who's suffering from memory loss or a parent whose health is rapidly declining, it's important to know services are out there. Creating New Hope is on a mission to inform, educate, and inspire the lives of family caregivers. Join us as we interview industry leaders and experts in the geriatric care space. Our mission is to create hope in the lives of caregivers.
Thank you all for joining us today. Greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your beautiful afternoon to join us. My name is Katie Brady. I am with Legal Assistance for Seniors in HICAP, and HICAP is a health insurance counseling and advocacy program. So what the strategy for today, we'll talk about the agency, who we are and what we do, and then the main objective is to talk about planning for the future, Advanced Health Care Directives, and we'll talk about what they are, how you might complete one, where you find one, and who you might select. So anyway, next slide. So who is Legal Assistance for Seniors? We are in Alameda County. We serve the entire county. There's no charge for our services, and our objective or vision is to ensure the independence and dignity of seniors by protecting their legal rights through education, programs such as this, through counseling, and through advocacy. LAS is the legal part of the agency, and we don't do everything legal, so don't call us if you want to sue your neighbor because your dog ate your cat, their cat, or whatever. But we do help seniors in so many other ways. If you have any issues right now with government benefits, and there are a lot of concerns with COVID-19 about what's Medicare covering, what it's not, and the stimulus checks and things like that. Senior immigrant issues. Elder abuse prevention is a big one for our agency. We get a fair amount of funding for that, and we work a lot with the Adult Protective Services in Alameda County. And caregiver issues. A lot of parents, neighbors, loved ones are raising other people's children. We can help in that scenario. Planning for the future, that's part of today's presentation. Healthcare coverage, that's the Medicare and Medi-Cal piece. That's the HICAP component, as well as we can turn to our attorneys who can help us with some difficult problems. And then we've gotten into the housing situation. It's in a limited case-by-case basis. It's kind of on hold right now because we're super slammed, but it doesn't hurt to call the agency, and we're a great referral resource for the seniors out there who may have issues that we can't help them with, but we can maybe send you to where somebody else can help you. So what is HICAP? If you have friends and relatives in other states, it's called SHIP. It's the Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program, or the State Health Insurance Program. And we provide assistance with Medicare and related health insurance products. We offer objective information. We don't sell insurance. We don't care what insurance you have, as long as you have something that allows you to get access to care. And we won't tell you which plan is best. You have to decide, but it's our job to lay out your options based on your situation. So this is part of the individualized counseling piece that we do as well. We have over 40 volunteer counselors throughout the county, including Livermore Senior Center, Dublin Senior Center, Pleasanton Senior Center. Now, obviously, all of this is on hold right now with COVID-19, but we are still doing phone call appointments. So if you have any questions or issues with your Medicare, please don't hesitate to give a call. We can put you in touch with a counselor and have a one-on-one situation over the phone. And we can email or snail mail materials to help you understand based on what your questions are, okay? So how do we operate? Well, we get funding through federal and state funds through the Alameda County Area on Agency. Our counselors are volunteer, but they're registered with the state of California. We have continuing ed requirements that they have to keep up to speed. We have every other month a 3-hour meeting on the updates and changes going on with Medicare. So when somebody volunteers with us, it's a huge commitment, but it's an incredibly rewarding commitment as well. You take people who are so confused about Medicare and what to do, and by the time they walk out the door, they got a plan. And so that's exciting for us. already said we work at 30 different locations throughout the county. And another part of what Jenny and I do is the community education piece. And we cross both the Medicare side, the high cap side of the agency, as well as the legal side. And we can go out and do presentations on elder abuse prevention and senior scams and fraud. And we have a whole plethora of topics that we present. So anyway, and in conjunction with the legal department, we can kind of work both ends. If it's more than just an education piece or helping people sort stuff out, if you need an attorney, we have them and we don't charge. Okay, probably can't help you if you're only 48, but if you're pushing 60, we got you. And it's based on the funding that we get. Some of our programs, we serve people under 50 and over. The kin caregiver program, I think we can help people that are that age as well.
Now, if they have a disability, would they, if they have if there's a disability, would they be able to be able to get services even if they don't meet that age requirement?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking. Okay. Yes.
So someone younger that had a stroke could. Right. Okay, good.
If you go out on disability, there's a couple rare situations. But if you're eligible to get Medicare, doesn't matter how old, well, you have to be over 18 as an adult dependent. But yeah, thank you for clarifying. Okay, so what we're here to talk about today, the Advanced Health Care Directive. Why do we want to talk about it now? Well, just like COVID-19, unexpected occurrences happen. Car accidents happen. One of our attorneys, a young woman, 28 years old, got hit by a car when she was on her bike, ended up in a coma for a few days. She's 28 years old. Her parents had no idea what her wishes were, if she was going to come out or anything. So it isn't just for seniors and people towards the end of their time on this earth. Anybody over the age of 18 probably should have one in place. But anyway, it's the only way to ensure that your wishes and preferences are known and respected. Okay? If you don't write it down and you don't tell anybody, nobody knows what you want. Really? But documents, some time to think about. What do you want at the end of the life? And it's difficult to talk about stuff like this. I'm going to live forever. Well, no, you're not. But anyway, that's the only thing we all have in common. We're all going to leave this earth someday. So don't wait till then. And you don't do this as much for yourself as you do it for your family and your loved ones. And we'll talk more about that later. And it also can prevent elder abuse. That's that yellow circle on the bottom. And we'll talk more about that as well. But, somebody may end up that wants to put you in a nursing home as soon as possible so they can sell your house and get your money. So if you have, one of these in place that says, I want to age in place, you can add whatever you want. It's a legal document and people have to appreciate and respect your wishes. So it's not easy to think about. We already said, make plans now that will help protect you in case that time comes. And again, only when you can't speak for yourself is when this document comes into play. So what is it? It is a legal document, as I said, and it helps make sure that your healthcare wishes are known and considered when you're unable to speak for yourself. Okay? This thing on the right, my left, it's an example of an Advanced Health Care Directive kit. There's a slight charge. It comes from CMA down in the right corner. It's the California Medical Association. This is just cool. You can get a free document online and fill it out, and we'll talk more about filling it out in a little bit. But anyway, it's the only way to make sure that your wishes are known and considered when you cannot speak for yourself. If you don't have one, your family and friends may have a difficult time helping you if you are unable to express your wishes, okay? Your healthcare wishes may not be followed, and someone may need to go to court to become your conservator, which we'll talk about. But I wanted to, your friends and family may have a difficult time. We've all heard cases. There was one not long ago with a young woman who had a tonsillectomy and it went south. And there was a big issue with, some doctors said there's no hope, and then the family didn't want to take her off life support. Until you walk a mile in somebody's shoes, who knows what your reaction would be to that. But at the same time, what if you're 86 and you've got 2 kids, and one is do everything to keep mom alive, and the other one is no, mom wants just comfort care at this point. She doesn't want to go through surgery. She doesn't want chemo treatment. Well, if you don't have that written down, what happens? Okay, so that's where this becomes an important thing. It's to help you and your family understand what your needs are and what your wishes are. So back to this conservatorship, what happens if you don't have one? Well, it's a legal process, and the court can appoint somebody to manage your affairs. The conservator has to keep records and report to the court. It can be a time-consuming and costly process. And if you have questions, don't call us. For the simple fact of the conflict of interest. We represent the conservatee. So if you come to us and say, my mom, she's loony, I need to conserve her, she needs to go in a nursing home, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wow, okay, you need to get your own attorney. We are going to represent your mother. We're objective. We're going to represent your mom. So you can always call us, or if you seriously are looking for some court assistance, you can go to the California Bar Association, which I think right there you go, it's right down there. Courts.ca.gov, and there's self-help, all right, that seniors do help walk you through. There's also lawyers in the library. A lot of local libraries have free legal assistance there as well. And if you didn't know it, they also have tax preparation. And this year, you don't even have to file your taxes yet. But it also depends if your libraries are open in which county in which you live, okay? So, next slide. So what does an advanced healthcare let you do? No matter which document you use, here's an example of another one. 3 things. You can appoint an agent who will speak for you when you cannot speak for yourself. You don't have to. It gives instructions about your health care. Do you want to be kept alive with tube feeding and all the other stuff? And you can express your wishes about organ and tissue donation. All right. Some cultures have different, just operate differently when it comes to the whole organ and tissue donation thing. Some don't want to. Some people want to donate their whole body. Well, now they're expanding that a little bit, and we'll talk about that some more. Okay, so we'll talk about things in order. So the first one is appointing an agent. And yes, it's optional, but the benefits of appointing an agent are the following. They can make healthcare decisions for you. They can make personal care decisions for you. If you're in that hospital and you are not ready to go home and you need more care and more time, that agent can go to the hospital. Well, you can speak up for yourself at that point, but that agent can help represent you and help you get the care that you need. Arrange for your housing. How about open your mail? It's a federal offense to open anybody else's mail. You're laying in a hospital bed, your bills are piling up. Who's going to write the checks? So it does help you to have an agent, but you don't have to appoint one. It's still best just to have something in place about how you want to be treated at the end of your life. You can donate your organs to disposition of the remains. So, and it is a legal document, so your agent must follow your wishes. So we're going to talk about how you select an agent. Who do you appoint? You have 2 children. One lives close by, and one lives in Virginia. Who do you think can get to your bedside faster? So the most important thing is, well, there's a bunch of important things. Obviously, it's got to be someone over 18. It should be someone that you trust and someone who is comfortable with your decisions. And what I mean by that is, as an example, I have a couple brothers. We were all raised very Catholic. Things change over time. Catholics didn't used to be cremated, but now they can. Now you have to keep all the remains together and then bury them. My brother Pat is still very Catholic. Brother Tim and I have fallen away a little bit. But also, I'm okay with being cremated, but I want some of my ashes spread on a softball field, on a ski lift, on the shores of Lake Michigan on a beautiful beach where I grew up. And then if there's any left, put them in an urn, whatever. My brother Pat would not be comfortable with that decision. So I'm not going to name him as my agent. My brother Tim is okay with doing that for me. So I would maybe pick him as my agent. It has to be somebody who can be comfortable with the decisions that you want, because it's about what you want. And don't maybe put a friend in that position if they're not comfortable with it. Anyway, and you can also name an alternate agent. So if you have 2 or 3 kids, you can pick the one who lives closest or the one who's going to be there for you that you think the most or whatever, and then the second and the third one. It's entirely up to you. And that last little bullet point right there, talk to the people you plan to appoint. Okay? I think that's kind of important. You need to let them know. Have the conversation with them in advance. Make sure they're comfortable with the decisions that you want them to make for you. Okay? And then the note at the bottom, just so you know, who cannot be. If you're in a long-term care facility, it cannot be an operator or an employee of that facility. All right? Nobody, in this situation, nobody wants to be able to say somebody's got a vested interest in there. Let's move you into a long-term care facility and let's put you on hospice so that we can sell your house. That's not going to work, okay? Anyway, it can't be your supervising healthcare provider. It cannot be an employee, I said, of the healthcare institution where you're receiving care, unless your agent is related or is a coworker. So anyway, there's just some caveats as to who can do it and who can't. So now, what about your healthcare instructions? Part number 2. State your wishes regarding your healthcare if you are not able to express them yourself. So that's the only time that this document takes effect, is when you can't speak for yourself. All right? So, decisions about life-sustaining treatment. Even if you choose not to prolong your, this is a new law. The bullet point under kind of the pinkish color one. If you are an organ donor, that's what you want to be, and you got your little pink dot on your driver's license, you may have to, say you get into a horrible car accident and your agent can request that they keep you alive long enough to evaluate the quality of your organs and whether or not your organs and tissue could be used in a transplant situation or whatever. It used to be, if you don't want your life prolonged, nobody could, they couldn't hook you up to machines. But if you want to be an organ donor and you've expressed that, then your agent can step in and say, no, take your time. Let's see if they're okay and good to go. And then they can, stop the stuff afterwards. But you can also include any other specific choices you may have. Do you want to be kept alive on a ventilator? Dialysis, feeding tube, blood transfusions, surgery, medicine, etc. You can put all of that in there if you want, specifically. But a lot of them, they just have 3 boxes to check. Do everything to keep me alive. Do only that which is comfort care. So here's the deal, or an example. You're on hospice because you're dying of cancer. Well, you fall and break your hip. They're going to treat the hip. They're not going to treat the cancer, but they got to fix the hip. And fortunately, you should be able to speak for yourself at that point. But anyway, just things to think about that we don't necessarily want to. Okay, the last piece, organ donation. You can indicate now whether or not you wish to donate organs, and you can specify which organs. Some, I understand some cultures, it's okay to donate any part but the eyes. The eyes see into the soul, and so you can't. But the new laws allow you to specify now the purpose. Do you want it for transplant? Do you want it to be used for therapy, research, or education? And you can leave it blank. If you leave the donation, your agent or others may make the decision to donate your organs, but be sure to fill out the section to make sure your wishes are followed. Don't just skip it if you don't. And you don't have to, nobody has to do this to donate your organs, but it's time to think about it. And, I'm totally biased. I used to work in a transplant team, so I really wish more people would donate. It'd be a beautiful thing. But anyway, and some you can include whether or not the person can request an autopsy for you, and you can include your burial requests. I have friends that want to do this new green funeral, and there's a cemetery up in Marin. It's beautiful. It's trees and stuff, and they wrap you in a beautiful shroud and plant a tree on top of you. I mean, it's just, but what do you want? What do you want? And this is the document that allows you to state that. So how do you complete the document? Well, it must be notarized, not necessarily. You can have 2 witnesses sign it. I have my neighbors, one across the street, one next door. They're not my agent. They're not my healthcare provider, and they're not married to me. So, but they can state that, yes, I am of sound mind, and the decisions that I'm making today are because it's what I want. Okay, and I'm of sound mind. Nursing home, if somebody is in a nursing home, they must also have an ombudsman sign the document. So if you have a loved one right now in a nursing home, it may be a bit complicated. Christine and I and Jenny too, we were all on the same conference call this morning. Ombudsmen are currently not allowed into the facilities, but I would imagine you would have access to a phone number and they would get back with you right away if you don't have one of these in place for your loved one who's currently in a nursing home. Okay, and then that bottom bullet point, you do not need an attorney to complete an Advanced Health Care Directive. It's a legal document, but you don't have to pay for an attorney. Okay.
I do have a question about the signature. Now,
Sure.
With folks having to stay out of the nursing homes, can this document be completed like through DocuSign, like electronically, or does it have to be in person?
I'm not a lawyer. I don't profess to be, but I would think that, yeah, DocuSign is legal. I mean, it's people are buying houses and mortgages via DocuSign. So, but I can check on that and get back to you. But my hunch is yes. It's kind of like a fax is a real document too. Yeah. All right. Again, okay. So the forms. Now, anybody that belongs to Kaiser or some other medical groups like that may already have one of these in place. Kaiser has their own form. I'm not sure, the Stanford Healthcare. Now they've come over to the Bay Area and they're in cahoots with Washington Hospital and Pleasanton, Valley Care out in Pleasanton and Dublin and your neck of the woods. So they may already have their own document. You may already have one in place and you don't realize that you filled it out. And so the next time you go to your doctor or you have a virtual call with your doctor, you can ask what if you have one already, and ask, when did you fill it out? When did you complete it? Because there's an issue about, my ideas have changed in the last 10 years. If I filled my document out 10 years ago, is it still what I want today? Is my agent still here? Have my kids moved and switched and now the other one's home and the other one lives in Kentucky or somewhere? So who was that agent, and is that person, and then touch base with that person and make sure that they're still willing to be your agent, that they're still comfortable with the decisions that you want. But again, and this is called end-of-life planning, and Medicare does pay for an end-of-life discussion with your physician, and doctors can now bill for it. So I'm going to put the onus on all of you out there listening. Have this conversation with your doctor. Do your family a favor and make sure that you all are on the same page about your wishes, and that way they can be carried out. But as you can see, there's a plethora of forms. Again, some have a lot more information than you can write down the favorite songs that you want if they're going to have a memorial service. But the three basic tenets involved in an Advanced Health Care Directive form is what are, do you have an agent and who is it? Um, what are your medical wishes? And then about your organ donation, okay? There was one other thing. Oh, another reason for doing this, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. A POLST form is a few slides away, and we'll talk about the difference between a POLST and an Advanced Healthcare Directive. But once you do the Advanced Healthcare Directive, what do you do with it? Well, keep it original for you and where your loved ones can find it, okay? Do yourself a favor and put everything in that folder and tell them where it is. Then give copies to the people you've appointed as an agent, give one to your doctor, and to all your family members who may be called if there's an emergency, okay? That's the only way to make sure all your kids are on the same page, all your friends are on the same page, your spouse, everybody gets a copy, all right? And you don't have to, but certainly the person who is your agent really needs to have a copy. Now, what if you want to change it? You can revoke it or change it at any given time, right? You can just change the date. But if you change the date, you don't even have to get a new document. You can change the date, make sure your wishes are the same, and make sure and then go get those two witnesses to re-sign again. You don't have to go through, you don't have to call an attorney or anything like that. And if you remember the slide that had the pretty yellow document from the California Medical Association, it has a wallet card in it. There's a perforated thing on the back of it. And you can carry it in your wallet, put one on your refrigerator. It lets people know what your wishes are and that you have an Advanced Health Care Directive. Okay, so what is a POLST? It's physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. It's different than, an Advanced Healthcare Directive. It is a complement to a healthcare directive, is more of an overarching thing. This is an agreement completed by you and your physician. It reflects your preferences regarding certain end-of-life treatment options, and once it's signed, it's considered valid medical orders. Okay? Now, why is this important? Physicians are trained to first do no harm, right? Their job, they want to cure you. They want to make you well. It's really difficult for a physician to step back and say, sorry, Mrs. Jones, there's nothing else I can do for your mom. So it gives the physician the permission to actually provide palliative care, and knowing that it's just easier for the doctor to let it's okay. The onus isn't on the physician. The onus is on me. I want palliative care. So, but when you fill out a POLST, that's a great time for you to have this discussion with your doctor. Usually they do it a lot of times if you're going in for surgery or something like that, because there's always the case that things can go south. So, but completing a POLST discusses your values and wishes for end of life with your physician. The physician will complete it based on your wishes and your medical condition. It must be signed by your physician and you, or your agent, and no witnesses are necessary. So this is an agreement between you and your doctor. It supports an Advanced Health Care Directive, but it doesn't take the place. Okay, there's nothing here about the organ donation. There's nothing here about an agent. And this is an agreement between you and your doctor. So resuscitation, commonly known as CPR or DNR, do not resuscitate. Medical interventions, ranging, there we go, comfort care, palliative care, same thing, only, or, medications, antibiotics. You guys can read this slide. All of those are potential medical interventions that either you want or you don't want, and this is the time you can do it. And then the artificially administered nutrition that's commonly known as tube feeding. Some people, if that's going to be necessary to keep me alive, then no. Other people, keep me alive as long as possible. Who knows what medical science may come up with? It's a very individualized decision, and it's an important decision that you don't make in a snap, okay? Which is why part of the reason we don't actually, when we do these live, we don't bring documents for people to fill out right there. We want you to think about it and take this information home and really make a conscious decision about what you want for end of life. And the time to do that is now. It's not when you're laying in a hospital bed wondering if you're going to wake up tomorrow. So anyway, so here we go. POL serves as a complement to an advanced healthcare directive. It converts your healthcare wishes into valid physician orders, and it allows you to appoint a legal agent. POLS does not do that. So a few resources. You can call us. We can talk more about this. We are there to provide the services we spoke about at the beginning of the presentation. And if we can't help you, we're a pretty good referral source as well. And then you can also, and there's the two websites, you can go to the California Medical Association and order one of their pretty goldenrod booklets, which are nice. But you also can just go online and Google Advanced Health Care Directives and find yourself a free one and be able to fill that out. Again, fill it out, make photocopies, talk to everybody that could be potentially involved in the situation towards the end of your life, and make sure everybody's all on the same page. So if you would like an appointment with a HICAP counselor, for anybody out there who's in Contra Costa County, there also is Contra Costa HICAP. Every county in California has a HICAP agency, and they can help you. They're not connected on the legal side like we are, so they're not necessarily able to do the community education presentations on elder abuse prevention and things like that, but they certainly can help you with your Medicare. And with Medicare, a lot of times comes other health insurance issues, and we're not Medi-Cal experts, but a lot of seniors are dual eligible, and so we get pretty familiar with with a lot of the Medi-Cal things as well. So we also, if any of you are in other agencies, two things. If you want to volunteer, we'll take you. We'd be more than happy to touch base with you. And if you also have an opportunity with like somebody from our community ed department to come do this presentation, we'd be more than happy to do that as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up and see if there are any questions.
Yes, I have a question. So during COVID, how are people making virtual appointments with you guys, or is it all on the phone? How is it operating right now?
A little of both. Our HICAP team, most of the Medicare counseling is has been via phone. But some of the counselors have Zoom, and we're working on, it's got to be, when it comes to Medicare, we've got to really be concerned about the privacy, because we're getting people's Medicare numbers and things like that. So we got to make sure that there's no issues with anybody Zoom bombing or, getting access, the whole patient HIPAA and all that stuff. So we're working with that. The lawyers are, the court systems are now operating virtually. And our lawyers are doing more virtual stuff. Our agency has both GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar. And Blue Jeans is the platform the courts are using. So we're doing both virtual and over the phone.
And then my other question is, once folks get their documents completed, and let's say it doesn't happen at a hospital, where should these documents live? Should they be registered somewhere? Where should folks, besides giving their friends and family a copy, where should they be?
Yeah, that's the only place.
Okay.
You just need to know where it is and have access to it when it's needed.
Got it. So you don't record them with the courts or anything like that? Okay.
No.
And
no, it is a legal document, but no, that's why multiple copies are good.
And so what happens in a scenario?
I was just going to add to that. You can give a copy to your primary care physician. They'll keep it in your medical file.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, if someone does pay for estate planning with an attorney, then if they fill these out, it would normally be kept also with that estate plan, but that's not required. That's just if someone does pay for those services.
Okay. And then what happens if there's a senior that maybe they're right at the tail end of cognitive impairment and they can't make these decisions yet and they don't have a family? What happens in those circumstances?
A lot of times those are the people who end up being conserved.
Okay.
And then you would have a conservator that would make those decisions. But the objective is also then to do this in advance so that you don't end up in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And are there any restrictions if somebody's like, let's say they're in the hospital now and they know their time is coming? Would the hospital set up some way for them to put these documents together, or would they have to call HICAP?
No, most likely, in my experience, Washington Hospital, when a loved one went in for surgery and didn't have one, this was probably 15 years ago, and they had them right there, and then you got to fill this out before we will admit the patient. Okay. So it's much more well known these days. There's much more, I think, than in the past. There's a county in Wisconsin where everybody over the age of 18 has an Advanced Health Care Directive in place. Somebody got a small grant, and they have, and I don't know where they got, all the approval, but everybody has one filled out.
Wow,
it's crazy. So yeah, this is. But to answer your question, yeah, if somebody's already in the hospital and it's happening, usually by the time you get in there, when it gets to that, they ask you to fill one out anyway.
Good.
At least that's my understanding. Jenny? Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Well,
Okay.
I don't have any other questions, and this is how folks can get a hold of you at hicap.org and then 800-434-0222.
I would suggest, the 434-0222. But you can call the 839-0393 number.
Okay.
And you'll be put into a voice a mailbox thing, and somebody checks the voicemail every day. Okay. So things really slowed down for a while, but they're picking back up again. And 10,000 people turn 65 every day in this country. So people are needing assistance getting in touch with Medicare. And our attorneys are available in the areas, of law in which we work. We're still working. We're all just working from home. So don't hesitate to call.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you very much.